Hey guys, in this video, I want to look at some of the sets from Sword and Shield, to be specific, all the ones from Battle Styles to Silver Tempest, and then we're going to look at SV Base up to Surging Spark. So we're going to look at all the SV sets and then basically all the alt art sets. Again, the reason I'm making this video, one of the reasons is because in one of my latest videos, I had someone complain that I wasn't sharing all my plays. So I'm going to tell you my plays today without telling you my plays, if that makes sense. So you should be able to figure it out. But also just because I think there's a lot of people are forgetting about Sword and Shield, and I want to just keep hammering home because I think with a lot of stuff being overpriced right now, or at fair market value because the demand's there, you should be looking back at Sword and Shield. So starting off battle styles, we're looking at the top 5 card values for all of these sets. So battle styles sitting around $275. You have the Tyranitar, you have the Urshifus, not much to say there. Then we have Chilling Reign, obviously, of the Fire Chicken. You got Galarian Moltres. Chilling Reign, tons of depth. I love Chilling Reign. Sitting around $580, right? Evolving Skies, 2.5K. A lot of that has to do with the Umbreon being almost $1,400 at this point. You have Rayquaza, Leafeon, Glaceon, all that in there as well. Then you have Fusion Strike, $725, second highest top 5 card value in Sword and Shield sets at this point behind Evolving Skies. And a lot of that has to do with the Gengar being $381 still. And then the Espeon, almost $200. And then obviously you have the Muse coming up behind that. Celebi's dropped all the way down to 28 again, by the way. And then you have Brilliant Stars, Charizard's $160. But overall, Brilliant Stars $293. When you look at the mid-tier sets, Brilliant Stars actually is, I'd say, the best right now. And when I mean mid-tier, I mean outside the top 4. So you have your Evolving, you have Chilling, you have Lost Origin, and you have Fusion Strike. And then outside of that, I think Brilliant Stars, decent number 5. Astral Radiance, $263. And obviously the Machamp's $120. You have Starmie up there, and then Dialga, Palkia, Garchomp. So some decent cards in there. Lost Origin, $581. Just a little bit above Chilling Reign, and just a little, well, actually a lot below Fusion Strike. And you have the Giratina, $384. Pretty much the same as the where is it? The Gengar from Fusion Strike right now. Pretty much the same price, couple bucks off. But the problem with this is that the Aerodactyl is only about $100, whereas the Espeon's $200. Then you have a couple Pikachu cards, whatever, Rotom's in there. And then finally, Silver Tempest, $278. Lugia makes up most of that, actually, $191. And then you have the Rayquaza, a Rainbow Lugia, and then a couple other cards like Unknown, Regidrago. So Silver Tempest is quite top heavy. But when we look at these values, obviously Evolving Skies up there at the top. Then you have Lost Origin and Chilling Reign up behind Fusion Strike. Fusion Strike's number 2, rather. So just keep that in mind, right? So then when we look at Scarlet and Violet, we have not much in base set, not really worth talking about, $100. Paldea Evolved is obviously the big one, about $300. Half that's the Magikarp. You have Iona, Tyranitar, Raichu, Chuyu's in there, so that's decent. Obsidian Flames, again, just over $100. Nothing too crazy here. The Charizard's $50. Then you have Paradox Rift, which is surprising. It's under $200, $185. The Groudon's making up most of that, $65 almost. Then Roaring Moon's $50. I do think a lot of these cards are undervalued. Like Iron Valiant's under $20 at this point. Steelix is higher, which is kind of insane to me. But some of these cards might come up in the future. I wouldn't be surprised. Then we have Temporal Forces, $275. A lot of that has to do with Raging Bolt EX and then Walking Wake. Iron Crown does pretty decently as well. Gouging Fire's in there. Then you have Twilight Masquerade. So this is when things get interesting. Twilight Masquerade, $552. By far the leader, based on all the previous sets. And a lot of that has to do with the Greninja. $330. Carmine and Pairing around 60, 65. Eevee's up there at $55. Man, I was wrong about this card. Blood Moon Ursaluna, $40. And then we have Stellar Crown. Nothing too crazy in Stellar Crown, but still $246. That's higher than Paradox Rift, higher than Obsidian Flames, and higher than base set. Stellar Crown is a newer set though, but you do have the Squirtle and Bulbasaur. And then Terrapagos EX sitting around $90. Hydropple around $30. And then Surging Sparks, obviously the Pikachu going huge, $460. Latias over $200 at the making of this video. Pikachu EX Gold card over $100. And then you have Milotic, $87. Hydreigon around $75. So Surging Sparks, $933. When you look at all of these sets, Surging Sparks is only behind Evolving Skies right now. Now, to be fair, will Surging Sparks be higher than something like Fusion Strike in 2 or 3 years? You guys are going to have to make up your mind. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if the top 5 value of these cards is less than Fusion Strike, with within like 3-4 years, right? Once it gets its reprints and stuff, assuming they come, they could not. But my point, and before I say everything that I'm buying, right? My point is that when I'm looking at Scarlet and Violet sets, I'm trying to consider reprints and what that's going to do to pricing. And then also just, how deep of a set it is, how fun is it to open? Like I'm trying to factor in all of this, right? But when I look at these values, I do think that potentially, obviously you have to consider box price and what you can get it at. But based on what I see right now, why would I buy Surging Sparks at 250, 260 Canadian, it's soon to be $300, even if I could get it at 200, right? Like, why would I do that when I could just pick up Chilling Reign at 300, or I could buy Fusion Strike at 310, right? So these sets are already out of their reprint windows. There's probably not ever going to be more of it on the market. Whereas Surging Sparks is going to be around for, at least a couple years, right? And especially if it's popular, if it gets a big reprint like Lost Origin or Silver Tempest, I'm sure demand will chew up a lot of it if the demand stays. But that's another thing, right? If we move into Prismatic Evolutions, if we move into Team Rocket set, the trainer cards, like all of this, if that's fire as well, then there might not be a ton of demand or as much demand for Surging Sparks once that reprint comes. So that's one thing. I'm definitely holding off buying more Surging Sparks for the long term. I think it's still a decent short term play. Like I really wouldn't be surprised if boxes go up to $250, $300 USD. That's just my opinion. Twilight Masquerade, I think is decent, right? Twilight Masquerade's been out a while. Prices have kind of stabilized on a lot of the cards. Greninja's kind of established itself as, a top hit in Scarlet and Violet. So, to me, this is kind of reminding me more of like a Lost Origin type of vibe. And you can see top 5 values fairly similar. I do think Twilight Masquerade will probably get a reprint at some point. So that's why, is it worth buying at $200 or 160 USD rather, 165, 200 Canadian, whatever it is? I think short term it's going to be a decent play. If there's a reprint, I'm going to be picking up more of that. Or if I can get a good deal on Black Friday or during the holidays, around 180 Canadian, I'd probably buy more than I already have, rather. And then when I look at some of these, like Paradox Rift, I still think is undervalued, especially considering a lot of these sets in Canada are much cheaper. And again, like, you have the Groudon, which I think the Groudon could break $100 at one point. I wouldn't be surprised if it pushes that. Roaring Moon, again, Altaria, like some of these cards could be worth, Iron Valiant, obviously. Some of these cards could be worth a lot more than they are, which would definitely change people's perception of the set, and it would change this overall number right here. But Paradox Rift, again, I'm looking at Paradox Rift because it's in Canada right now. It's one of the lowest boxes you can find, and I think it's undervalued. Temporal Force is kind of the same thing. We talked about this. A lot of sites have it around 170 Canadian. So what is that, like 115, 110, 115 USD? I'm going to be buying more of that on Black Friday as well. But I'm focusing a lot of my efforts on some of these Sword and Shield sets as well. So Silver Tempest, if I can find this around 200 Canadian, I'm going to be pulling the trigger on more Silver Tempest. So you can buy this still in the Pokemon Center. I would just prefer to get better boxes that are in perfect shape. Some other things, Astral Radiance. If I can find Astral around 220, I'm going to be pulling the trigger on more of that. And I might actually be buying another case of Fusion Strike. And that's pretty much what I'm looking at. Maybe even some Battle Styles, right? If Hobbiesville does a sale, I think their boxes right now are 175 Canadian. So, if I get 10% off discount or whatever, it's sitting around 160 Canadian. I'll probably buy another case of Battle Styles. Because when you look at top 5 value, it's higher than Astral Radiance. Okay, it's only $4, less than $4 behind Silver Tempest, and it's just a bit behind Brilliant Stars. And these are all, $200 to $250 Canadian boxes at this point. So, once Battle Style sells out, it's going to make its move. And, based on the top 5 value, obviously you have, I guess I can just show it, right? You have the Tyranitar in there. The Urshifu cards aren't anything crazy, but in the future, people are going to want to open this and try and get the Tyranitar. It's a great artwork. It's one of the first alt arts of its kind that, really revolutionized full art, rare cards for Pokemon. So I do think Battle Styles will have some utility in the future. Obviously, it was printed into Oblivion, which is why it's definitely lagging behind some of these other sets, in my opinion. But if I can find Battle Styles a lot cheaper, 20-30% cheaper than I'm finding Silver Tempest, it probably just makes sense for me to pick up more Battle Styles. So Battle Styles, Silver Tempest, Astral, if I can find them at the right price, maybe a little bit of Twilight Masquerade, and then Paradox Rift and some Temporal Forces. That's what I'm looking at. So everything else, I don't really want to touch right now. And you guys let me know in the comments down below if you're picking up any of those sets. Also, before you leave, 70% of you guys watching these videos still aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you could, subscribe if you're getting value out of this, I'd really appreciate it. If not, no worries at all. Thanks again, guys. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.